Is this the best personality test ever? I think so. We think so. We're going to tell you what personality test this is. If you haven't taken it, you should. But we require every single person that works at our organization, every single person that comes to our coaching program to take this very test. And we're going to dive into it in today's episode.
And the personality test that we are talking about is the DISC test, D-I-S-C. You might have heard of StrengthsFinders, Enneagram. There's lots of different ones out there, but we love this one.
Now, I feel like the first time we heard about DISC was actually at a marriage retreat. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
So we went to a marriage retreat and they took us to the DISC test, and we were like young business owners. We didn't have a team, anything like that. And we both did not like it. I feel like I did.
And I feel like I might have answered incorrectly.
Yeah, like we both felt like we did it wrong. I don't know. Maybe it was a style of test they gave us, but we both you did it the test at the beginning before the whole retreat. And then they're talking about it the whole entire time. Maybe we were just in denial. I honestly don't know. It'd be fun to find those initial results, but we both felt like we missed it or something. Yeah. And then the whole weekend, it was just kind of hitting against what we thought was true. And so we had a bad first experience with this. But when we actually learned about it in the business realm, we had a new person train us on DISC, and it started to click and it started to make a lot more sense. And so if you've never been through the DISC test, I'd encourage you, if you want this podcast to go even deeper, I would go through it before this podcast, because we're going to dig into the DISC test and kind of what these things mean and why we actually use this company-wide. Actually, we use Slack for communication. We have a whole Slack channel where all of our team is. Everyone has their DISC profile actually in their name. So my name is my name and then my DISC profile letters. And I'll tell you the reason why in just a sec.
So DISC stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. And it's really all about a behavior assessment and how you communicate.
Yeah, we love DISC for our team. And why we put in Slack is because how someone is wired should affect how you communicate with them. This is actually why we have it even in our coaching program. How we coach someone should be different based on how they're wired. We can actually love them at a higher level if we know they're a D, or we know they're an S, or we know they're a C. And that might not make any sense to you right now, but if you take this test before this podcast, we're going to explain all these and you can kind of analyze your answers. You'll learn a lot about yourself. You'll learn a lot about your husband if he takes it with you, your kids. And the DISC test is really unique because it doesn't vary very much. After about the age of 6, it stays very consistent. Unless you have a major life event happen or something like that, it stays very consistent. And I love it because it digs into, how we can communicate with people better, how we can lead them better, what motivates them, what are their strengths and their weaknesses. And it's a very, very powerful tool. And that's why we love it. We put everyone who comes to work for us, everyone who comes in our coaching program through this test.
Okay, but before we get into it, I know we're going to get into it, and we totally are. But I just think it's really important to know this about Stephen. Stephen did not like personality tests.
Oh, I hated personality tests.
For
with
the
a
longest
passion.
time. Yeah. And I was always I loved learning about, I remember even doing the Enneagram and I don't even know what I'm at there. That would be one personality test I would love to dive into.
I think I did what's the one you do in college? ENFP. And what's the ENF, INJF? And,
that's
that
intro or extrovert. I feel I did that in elementary
that's okay.
school.
But there's another, what's called something. It's StrengthsFinders, or it's called
maybe.
Oh, Myers-Briggs. That was one. I did it in college and I just was oh, I hate this. I hated being in a box.
Hate it? Yeah.
I was you can't put me in a box. I was my language growing up around these. I was I'm not like anyone else,
Which you probably weren't. But what do you think changed for you in realizing wow, this can actually be beneficial? And of course, everybody is a little bit of everything,
I think I got more mature and realized that I don't know everything. And so, but I also, you got to find the one that resonates with you. And the DISC one resonated with me at such a high level. And I think it was probably because, again, with that marriage retreat, it was kind of I don't know about this. But as soon as I heard people I looked up to in the entrepreneurship space be we love DISC and this is the reason why. And we learned about DISC through, it came back around in our life through a $50,000 mastermind with Russell Brunson. He was all about DISC, and his mindset coach, Mandy, was an expert on DISC. And she's you guys all have to take this and I'll read all your charts and all that stuff. That was the moment I was oh, I should probably pay attention to this. This guy who built a $100 million company really likes it. I should pay attention to that. And so I think I just needed to humble myself a little bit. And once I actually had someone read my stuff and assess it, I was whoa, okay, this does make a lot of sense. Not everything's going to be perfect, but there's a lot of wisdom in there, and it's helped us out so much
Mm-hmm.
with hiring. We've actually made a lot of mistakes too with this because we didn't look at it as closely.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about those in this podcast. Okay, so before we get into this, you're probably wondering, how do I take this test and how long does it take? I would say it takes 20 to 30 minutes, okay? If you absolutely can't before this, that's fine. It's kind of like when you're learning something and they're like, check the workbook, and you know the workbook, like it's going to be a little harder, but it's okay. If you want to just listen and then take it, that's fine, and come back maybe. Or maybe you've already taken it a long time ago. You can find your results and take notes on this. Or maybe you might be able to self-identify yourself as we even just talk about these. But I would definitely recommend taking a test. The one that we recommend is the Tony Robbins version. So it's just tonyrobbins.com/disc. tonyrobbins.com/DISC. I will give you a disclaimer though. It's like a lead generation thing for Tony. So as soon as you do it, you're going to start getting text messages and calls being like, hey, join
They're
Tony's
very
stuff.
good at follow-up.
Like their follow-up game is amazing, by the way. So if you're not into that, it's okay. You can unsubscribe, no problem. But we sent even our team through Tony's because I just like the way it's formatted. And I would recommend buying like the mid-tier option. There's a free version, but there's like one that's like $59 and it's called the full version. And you just get like so much better data, and you get the charts, and you're going to hear us talk about the charts. The charts for me make it really easy to read instead of like this huge long page document. I can just look at someone's chart and really read them really quickly. Okay, now bonus for those watching on YouTube. Did you know you can listen to the show on YouTube? And sometimes there's visuals, not often, okay? But if you want to check out the charts, our charts, you can go to YouTube right now, and I'm showing them, okay? But for people not going to YouTube, it's okay. I'm going to explain them as well. This will make a lot of sense when you get your own DISC test back and you see the charts, okay? So on the charts, you're going to see three main things. This is usually on page 7, okay? Page 7, if you take the Tony Robbins one, you buy the full version for $59. On page 7, those are your charts. Like that's the most important thing you can look at, okay? And you have basically two charts. You have your adapted style and you have your natural style. Just, all you need to know about this is your natural style is kind of like how you naturally show up. And your adapted style is what your life looks like under pressure. Okay. So when there's stress, when there's extra things going on, your stuff can shift a little bit. Okay. Over on the right-hand side is your values. Okay. These are what we call your motivators. And typically these are the things that really drive you. And this adds some nuances to the personality type, but they can be really insightful when you look at these together. Okay, so you've seen our charts. We might come back to those, but we're going to start by really explaining the 4 types. We're going to go through each letter, D-I-S-C. We're going to explain a handful of things about them. We're going to explain like what are some characteristics of a D person, how to talk to them. This is really important for maybe you learning about yourself and helping people be like, hey, when you talk to me, this is how I actually receive it best, right? Or maybe it's going to help you if you have your spouse take it, learn how to talk to them and connect with them on a deeper level. The third thing we'll talk about for each letter is how to actually re-energize. So in those times when there's higher stress, how do you really like feed your soul, okay? In those moments. And lastly, how to set yourself up for success. For each letter, it looks differently, how to be productive, how to like crush it in business and at work. Like this is going to look different. And so DISC, we're going to go through all 4 of those. All right, Chelsey, let's start this by talking about the Ds. I feel like me and you had a pretty strong D experience when we joined that program. When we first started learning about the DISC, we got put at this table. Do you want to tell the story about this table in particular?
We got put at this table, and Stephen and I were not super high Ds.
We are not Ds at all, really.
We're not Ds at all, but we got put in this table, and it was very clear that all of the women and all the people that were at this table were high Ds. And what I mean by that is they were straight to the point. There was no BS. There were no tears, no emotion. And it was just like, they were intense. And I remember even growing up, being around strong women. And I think honestly, learning about the DISC, I had to break off an old belief pattern that I had, because I think I had seen really strong women, really strong, probably Ds that were assertive, that were in places of position and power. And I was very intimidated by them. And I think I even saw my mom probably get intimidated by them as well. And I think I had this perception that really high Ds were kind of beesies. Like, I don't need, like, that's what I kind of thought. But I have learned, especially in business, now that we've been joined other masterminds and been in other rooms, like I actually need their strength, like their strength and their assertiveness and their like strong-willed, get things done personality. Like I actually need to learn from. And so some of the people that I am closest to are probably like those high
Yeah,
D's,
off the
very
charts.
competitive.
It's
Like,
really common with
yeah,
entrepreneurs and leaders and CEOs to
yes,
be a high D. And
yeah.
me and Chelsea are kind of definitely exceptions. We are not high Ds, and we'll
Mm,
get into what we are. But I mean, like you said, D's are like the characteristics, results oriented, ROI,
mm,
direct,
mm,
decisive,
mhm,
strong-willed, can be competitive, right? They
mm.
can be risk takers as well. And so if that's resonating with you, like, yeah, that's me. I feel like one thing that's kind of helpful is point at like maybe celebrities you might know or like, famous people.
Mhm,
So, high D's from history or current living would be like Steve Jobs. Like Steve
mhm,
Jobs is like a super high D, like crazy visionary, but also would bulldoze people, right? If you like
mm,
read some of his biographies, just boom, like get it done, right?
mm,
And that is definitely kind of can be a characteristic, but also a ditch of a high D, right? Another one would be like Gordon Ramsay, right? Gordon
mhm,
Ramsay, the chef, he's just like, it's not good, right? Like it's just like right to the point. And again, D doesn't need to be negative. It can be definitely a strength, but
mhm.
he's got high standards. He's very competitive, and he's direct. He's assertive.
Another high D that I think we've all heard of is Oprah Winfrey. She demonstrates power and
Yep.
decisiveness in leadership style with her focus of achieving like really big
Yeah,
results.
and Oprah is one of those ones that you like. She's definitely, I would say, a D, but I would say on her motivators, this is where you can kind of like balance someone out, right?
Mhm,
She might be high D because she can like really lead in that way, but I bet on like the motivator side, I think she's probably really high altruistic is
mm.
one of the motivators because she's like very like, oh, I want to give, I want to do all these things, and so she's probably a mix. You're not just going to probably be one letter. You're probably going to be like DI. I bet Oprah's like DI is my guess, like for
We're
her
just guessing
profile.
on you, Oprah.
Yeah, tell us, Oprah. Send us a message.
Yeah, what are you?
So,
We'll
so
get into the characteristics.
now with the D's, we're gonna get into like how to talk to D's or how to like get talked to, right? If you are a D, to serve yourself better at a high level, as well as how to energize yourself and how to show up better at work or success more, or to set yourself up for more success in entrepreneurship, right? We're gonna get to that. But we thought we'd go through the characteristics first of all the four main profile types, as well as the celebrity kind of lookalikes for those letters, just so you kind of have the four in your mind, and you can hopefully start to self-identify. Or if you've taken the test, you're like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense.
So for I, which stands for influence, those characteristics are enthusiasm, optimistic, they're very people oriented, they are a good communicator, they love social recognition and tend to be a little bit more spontaneous. So Stephen and I are very high on the I. We're both
Yeah,
high
I'm looking at
I's.
mine now. Chelsea's is definitely higher than mine, but we're both on the I chart. Okay.
Mhm,
I'm actually three different letters. Chelsea is two different letters. But this is like the influencers, right? Like they can be actually really good marketers, right? Because they're like, man, like, hey, everyone come along with me. Everyone come along with
mhm,
me. Celebrities you might know who are probably high I's. I would say Will Smith is one of those
mhm,
guys. He's just like, woo, like just he's the life of the party. He's fun. He's like an influencer. He's bubbly. He's optimistic. Another one, at least the face that she puts on her show, it'd be Ellen DeGeneres, right? Like I
mhm.
know I've heard other things about Ellen behind the scenes, but on her show, she definitely is trying to come across as an I, right? I'm the influencer. I'm the influence.
People oriented,
Yep.
funny, bubbly, brings people together, very socialite.
Richard Branson, another guy, like, right, entrepreneur, but also just like, hey, listen, like life is fun. If everything's good, that's definitely an I. And I definitely wants people to like them. Okay.
Mhm.
That's definitely a ditch of the I sometimes
Yeah.
is people pleasing, right? Oh, like, I gotta like make sure everyone's happy. That's definitely an I characteristic.
Next on the disc is S, which stands for steadiness. They're patient and calm. They're very team oriented, loyalty and dependable. They're super loyal. They prefer stability and consistency, and they are a good listener. And this is also something that Steve and I both score high on. I like my S, my IS, like that is what my two letters are. So
Yeah.
I think that that plays out a lot in
Yes.
business and who I am. And I'm seeing like stability and consistency. Like those are things.
Dependable.
Yeah.
Yeah. S is a
Loyalty.
good like follow through person
Mm,
typically. The C is even better. I usually at
mm,
follow through, but like the S, I always remember like S is like steady, stable. A really high S can actually be also slow. I always remember
mm.
the S words. So sometimes it can be a little bit slower with things. But it's for a reason. Classic S. Okay. Fred Rogers. Okay. Like
Love
Mr.
Mr.
Rogers,
Rogers.
patient, calm, nurturing, like focused on supporting others, right? Like just like his whole demeanor is just like S.
Yeah, Mother Teresa is another one. Very dedicated to helping others and being patient and caring and selfless nature. I mean, like Mother Teresa, I feel like it's the epitome of like the true S, you know?
Yeah, Julia Roberts would be like an actress, right? Just kind of like warm, dependable, easygoing. Okay, the last one is the C. I've heard this one mostly called compliance, but it's also called conscientiousness. Okay, sometimes compliance people are like, oh, it's negative, but it's not. This is like your detail person. Like they are the person that like checks each box, dots each I, crosses every T, right? They have really high standards to like for quality. They're good at systems, they're good at organization. Also see how I always remember they're cautious. Sometimes they're a little careful, right? Because they want to make sure things are accurate. They want to like find all the facts, right? They want to make sure there's precision. These are great people to have on your team, especially in your finances, especially in your follow through, right? Like having an assistant that has a little bit of a C in their disc profile is going to be really helpful for you because they're not going to miss the details.
So some celebrities, this would be Bill Gates, who's very known for his analytical mind, attention to detail, and high standards in technology. Another one that you might know is Marie Kondo, who's well known for organization, for making things systems and approachable. And she just really cares about like those systems and processes that help you declutter. So she's really attention to detail.
You could think of see like Sherlock Holmes, right? I know a fictional character, but like attention to detail, analytical, like he has logical reasoning, like observation skills. Like that is a classic C. All right. So now you kind of know the personality characteristics. Again, you might fall really heavy into one of these. You likely will be in multiple. All right. For our YouTubers taking a look at this, you can see Chelsea's over here. She's an IS. How we know that is like those are the highest ones, right? On both of her charts. You can also on one of these pages, I forget what it is, it just tells you like you are a blank, and it kind of like tells you your highest letters. But you can see like in stress, okay, in stress. So like on the left hand side, that's the adapted style. In stress, the I thing goes down, okay, and her C goes up. So normally she's like an IS, but in stress, what does Chelsea do? She wants to know all the details, right? She wants to let's go slower. I got to know the details. Like that is very normal for Chelsea based on her charts. For me, on the other hand, I am a CIS. Okay, CIS. So my natural is I actually have a pretty high attention to detail. I'm pretty high on the I, more in stress, like more in pressure. And my S is fairly high as well as on the natural side of things. But under pressure, my I goes like through the roof. And my C and my S go down. Okay. So if it's like a pressure situation, there's more stress, details are going out the window, right? Like I'm not going slow. I am going to like make this thing happen. Like I'm going to influence people. I'm going to use my sales skill set to be like, guys, we're doing this thing. I'm like the rallier of people under stress. My D also goes up just a tiny bit, but both of our Ds are well below the midline. So we are not considered Ds really at all. Lastly, I'll just like throw some stuff on the right-hand side. So the right-hand side is your motivators. There's aesthetic, economic, individualistic, power, which also I think is called like governmental kind of almost, altruistic, which is like giving, and then regulatory, following the rules, and theoretical, like, oh, I want to learn more. I want to, that type of thing. So both me and Chelsea, this is why I think we're good at business. Both of our values on economic are off the charts. Okay. So like they're literally off the chart economic. Okay. So even though we're not high on the D, this makes up for it. Like the high ROI mindedness on the economic side of things, we're always looking for ROI. Even on this chart, there's like a line. That's usually where the average population falls. Me and Chelsea are both like way outside the line to the right on economic. Our motivators are actually like fairly similar, which is kind of interesting. The only place that we really differ is Chelsea's super low theoretical. Okay. And I'm like pretty high theoretical. That means like, I just love to theorize and learn and like read books and all these things. She's just like, I know I have everything I need, right? Like you're good. And then on the aesthetic, I'm fairly low and she's really high. And this makes a lot of sense because Chelsea really cares that things are beautiful and that she can like put her own flavor on it. And it's just like, and I'm just like, whatever, get it out the door, like, and so that's really,
we make a good
helpful
team because we need both of those.
Oh, actually, I see one other difference. My regulatory is really low and Chelsea's is pretty average, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more prone to kind of be the risk taker, the one who
Mm-hmm.
breaks the rules, the one just like, oh, well, let's do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not as much caring about all the regulatory stuff. While Chelsea's like, no, we should really check our T's and do these things. So we make a really good combo because we balance each other out in that. And we both have the high economics. So if we come back to ROI, we're probably going to agree. As entrepreneurs and parents, convenience is key. But that doesn't mean you should have to sacrifice quality. For years, we nerded out on coffee, trying to get the highest quality, but that takes a lot of time, weighing the beans, getting the right grind, getting your water to the perfect temperature. And so when we had kids, we kind of shifted to the pod system, right? And it was a major downgrade. That was until we found X Bloom.
X Bloom works with the best roasters around the country, and their machine truly brings the specialty coffee shop experience to your home. If you love a good pour over, I highly recommend you check this out. You can elevate your coffee drinking experience while keeping up with your kids. If you're ready to transform your mornings, head to rainmakerfamily.com/deals to get started. That's rainmakerfamily.com/deals. So now we want to talk about communication style, specifically when you're talking to different people that have different disc profiles than you, because communication is really important. And you might say something that might come off slightly different to somebody who's like a high D versus somebody who is a high like I. For instance, like if I come in and I know somebody on the team is a high D, they want to go straight to the point and not have you like ask them a bunch of questions and get involved with their life situation.
Yeah.
Whereas an I, they're going to really appreciate
Yes.
and value the fact that you're asking like how their kids were
And if
doing,
you don't
how their
ask
weekend.
about their life, they may feel like you don't like them,
Yeah.
right? And so like eyes can fall into this trap like, oh no, they don't like me. And so
Yeah.
once you know how someone's wired, you can really love them, right? Because
Mhm.
it's not that hard to say, hey, how was your weekend, right?
Yeah.
But if you are high D, you're not going to do that, right? And if you don't know someone needs this, you're just like, like even me, like I'm not a high D, but I'm ROI. So I can skip the small talk, but I know with certain team members, I gotta do it because like it's going to fill their love tank a little bit, make them feel heard, make them feel like I'm feeling safe here.
Yeah. And I will say too, like, I think sometimes, at least in my book, like we need strong D's and C's in our business for sure. But there are some really, I mean, not some really, there are incredible D's out there. Like I can think of one team member named Jeff, and he's like the most caring, compassionate, empathetic person ever. And he comes in and like wants to hear and wants to share his life. So just to say that he's a high D doesn't mean he doesn't care about your life or what you did on the weekend. It's just like there are some situations that maybe just keep like the small talk a little more brief and then to the point, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So D's love options, but letting them decide, right? Bringing them options, but letting them decide. D's love confidence, like being a little more assertive, avoiding the small talk and being direct, right? Being direct to the point and ultimately focusing on ROI. When you're in the room with a D, you can bring it back to return on investment, ROI. Like, what's the result of this thing? What's the objective? Like, that's just great. If they have something to look at, like, that's the result. They can shoot for that thing, and you're going to really.
I think like just from a personal standpoint, like again, I've talked about being around really powerful D women that are strong, that are straight to the point, and I am not always that way. And I think in these situations where you clearly know somebody is a way different personality type than you, I think it's really important to still be who you are, because even in the last couple of weeks, like we are going through a really big personal life transition, which we're going to share about really soon. But in that, like I have felt a little bit more vulnerable and I've just been processing a lot. And even getting around really high D's, like I've questioned, like, should I be as vulnerable? Should I share the hard stuff instead of the business strategy, which they might really want the business strategy. But I've just had to come back to like, I was created this way. Like I was created to be an IS, and I need to not pretend like I'm not that person in the situation. So I think it's being aware of who you're talking with, their personality, but also not making you change who you are just to like get their approval or to be their friend, you know, because they're going to be your friend for who you are, not for whatever show you're presenting. But I do think understanding these communication patterns is powerful. So I just put that out there because I think that's important too. Like I've found myself even like when we first learned about this DISC test and realizing that table that we got where was real with really strong women. It's like, I need their strength, but I'm also not going to hide or pretend to be somebody
Yeah.
else when I'm around them either. So
100%, yeah.
that's just a good
And it's not like
reminder.
the other ones aren't as strong. They just strength looks different for those
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
you know? So let's talk eyes. Okay. So eyes is next. We talked about D. Eyes,
Mhm.
like they want that, they want friends, right? They want to know they're liked. They want to know they're loved, right?
Mhm.
With eyes, using stories, right, is really
Mhm.
powerful. Using examples, being open, like listen, showing you're listening actively, right?
Mhm.
Like, and you're asking those questions to go a little bit deeper. Like that can be really powerful with an eye when talking to them.
And when communicating with an I, it's really important to like do it together, like compliment them personally and often, support their ideas, and don't poke holes too much at their dreams or show that in like a negative light. Like you want to show it in a positive light, their dreams. Also, like, and I noticed this too, like keep up a fast pace, lively pace. Like if you're going too slow, it's like, okay, come on, things are dragging on. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go to S. This is like our steady eddies. Okay. And when you're talking to them, definitely as well as a C, providing data, proof, like that can be
Mhm.
really helpful. Coming to reason, like reasoning, this is kind of like more logical. I think like being really patient with them is huge, and definitely still demonstrating your interest in them.
I think a big one with S's is just really avoid rushing or persuading them like into any decision. Like they need time, they need to see the consistency and that the decision they're going to make or that you're inviting them into is really reliable. And I can say that is like 100% true with me. It's like when we're shifting or moving, it's like I need to see data. I need to know that we're going to be okay, that there's reliability, consistency, that I'm not being pushed too hard, too fast by Steven if it's a big dream or a big idea, because
Mhm.
then I feel like rushed and I almost like shut down and I'm like, I can't talk about this anymore.
Yeah, that's big. With C's, you definitely want to be well prepared, right? You want to be clear, you want to be logical, you know, again, provide them data. Don't get too emotional, like, or avoid emotional language. You want to kind of more stick to the facts with a C. Again, not trying to hide who you are. If that's part of you, great. But like a C, like they want the data, right? They're just like, okay, I heard the story, but like, show me the numbers. And that's going to go a long way with the C's.
Yeah, C's might want to engage like in an activity such as like making a puzzle or thinking like intellectually. And to me, doing a puzzle or thinking intellectually or playing a game just sounds so tiring and I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, C's are great people to like check the procedures, like do the
Mhm.
quality control.
Yes.
Like, hey, like, we're gonna do this, but I need someone to like follow through and make sure it happened. Like,
Yes.
that's your C, and they're amazing people to have on the team, especially like me and Chelsea, like high ISs, like having C's and D's on our team
Yeah.
is so powerful. And we'll talk about that just a little bit because we kind of learned this the hard way, right? When you are new to business, new to outsourcing, you tend to just hire people that are exactly like you.
Or that
Okay,
you really
like you
like
really
or
like the
really,
person
yes.
because they're like you.
Yeah.
And so when we started building our business, we hired a bunch of I's and S's. And so you can imagine like when we have a bunch of I and S's in the room, like we're all like trying to influence each other, being steady, all these things. But we didn't have as much C's on the team. So we just didn't have as much compliance. And we had no D's. We had like
Mhm.
absolutely no D's on our entire team until like just a couple years ago.
Mhm.
And learning this about ourselves has actually helped us build a way stronger team, a way more well-rounded team. Jeff, I think, was one of the first, actually, maybe the second D we brought onto our team. Chelsea mentioned him, and he like leveled up the whole team
Mhm.
because we were all I's and S's and C's, and we needed a D on our leadership team to actually train us on how to be more D like. Because in running a business, leading people, you need that part of
Mhm.
it. And we just were missing it for so many years. And so I've learned this too, like a personal assistant, for example, when we were hiring, I actually told like the team that was helping us hire an assistant. I was like, I want a DC. I
Mhm.
want a DC. I want someone to like get it done, go fast with me, like make hard decisions, get on calls, like on my behalf, make those decisions. But I want attention to detail and
Mhm.
follow through. And I wanted a DC on the personality test, and we found that person, right? I didn't want an I didn't want an S. We had a couple people apply for the role who were really great at what they did, had really great resumes, but they're I's and S's. I just knew it wouldn't work because I want to go quick. I want to go fast. Having an S in there is just like, I'm going to do it myself, right? Instead of giving it to that person. So having a DC is crazy awesome right now. And his name's James. Like he literally gets like more than me done every single day. Like he's just like doing stuff all the time, checking things, making sure I'm remembering stuff. And it's just incredible. So once you learn these things, not only can it help you like build your team, but also it can help you strengthen the relationships that are currently in your life because you can learn how to like work with them, work with their strengths, work around their weaknesses, and build systems to communicate at a higher level. All right. So hopefully at this point, you're maybe self-identifying. Maybe you took the test, did the extra credit. Okay. And you're learning a lot. We're going to end by talking about how you can re-energize yourself because the disc can really shift in stress. If your lines on your chart are like way different between like natural and adapted, you're living kind of in a high stress environment where things can really shift when there's pressure. If your lines stay fairly the same, you're just a more stable person. And that's okay. Like there's no right or wrong. We just like when you know thyself, you know how to like kind of get yourself back on track and get you back into that natural state. So what we're going to talk about is one, how to set yourself up for success, and two, how to just re-energize yourself. So for example, our D's in the room, okay? Our D's for you, being active is huge. Okay. Like having an intense workout, like that's going to be a really great thing for you in those moments of higher stress, higher pressure. Just like going and sweating is your game changer. Okay. And in business and entrepreneurship, having goals like is going to be big, right? Like having an environment where it's like, there's this cool result. There's this like all this awesome ROI thing I'm working towards. And it's a challenge and I have to innovate and improve. Maybe you're taking on a leadership role. That's going to be a place that you can really thrive as a D.
For my eyes, just think about re-energizing like a golden retriever would. So you're going to want to socialize, spend time with friends and family, participate in creative activities or hobbies, attend social events, and seek new and exciting experiences. I just want to encourage you when it comes to success, like really think about pursuing careers in sales, marketing, public relations, or even entertainment. Build a strong professional network. And I've seen that time and time again with us.
Yeah.
Like relationships are so key, and seek roles in your business or in entrepreneurship or whatever you're doing that offer variety and opportunity for you to be creative in what
Yeah.
you're doing.
For our S's, our steady eddies, okay, for you to recharge when there's high stress, there's a lot going on. Honestly, probably getting away is better. Having a little bit of quiet time with some loved ones, a small group. This is typically going to be something that gives you that energy in that season. Some relaxing activities like reading, taking a walk, right? Routine and structure is probably really big too. So in times of stress, times of pressure, making sure you're sticking to those normal structure and routine as much as possible is really going to keep you grounded in those seasons. For setting yourself up for success, like again, you're going to want to look for work environments that have stability, consistency, like where, this might be something that's like, man, I just love doing my routine every single day and I'm really good at it, right? You could be awesome at customer support or operations. Relational stuff can really be a powerful thing for you in your business, in your entrepreneurship realm.
And even though, okay, so you're hearing these two different things and you're like, wait, but Chelsey, you said you were an IS. So it's like you're saying be a golden retriever, be super social. But then on the S, it's saying like having quiet time and routine. And I think that you can have both. I think you can be extroverted and introverted with both of those personalities. So for me, like it definitely goes in spurts depending on even like my cycle, where I'm at in the time of the month. But sometimes it is like, yeah, I want to go out and I want to do something totally new. Like in times of stress, it's like, let's get out of the house. Let's go on this adventure. Like I'm craving that. And then other times I just want to like be home with our family and I don't have a ton of extra energy to have output. And I know for me personally, like I love being spontaneous for sure, but I also love having structure and routine in between. And I think that has allowed me, especially as I've become a mom where overstimulation is totally a real thing, having that structure and knowing what I'm doing each day has eliminated a lot of stress for me. And so when there is like this uproot and this change in my schedule, like week after week, that can feel a little like unshaky. And I think honestly doesn't allow me to get into my creative flow as quickly because things have been changed so much. So I love like the team collaboration. I love being with our people. I love making things beautiful. And you see that again and again in our business.
Last week, we got our C personality type on the disc. Re-energizing might look like doing something intellectually stimulating, right? Like Chelsey talked about a puzzle, right? Or reading. Sometimes for a C, like planning things out can be helpful too. Like just like, hey, let's just put this all on paper. Between now and here, we have to do these things. I want to organize it, plan it, like structure my calendar, that type of thing. A lot of times C's are going to recharge in quiet, typically in more structured environments. And maybe it's a hobby that you have that like requires a little bit of precision or attention to detail. Maybe it's, rebuilding old watches, or it's woodworking or something like that with your hands that is, something with precision and detail. That's gonna be a great way to recharge as a C. In work and entrepreneurship, independent work is big, right? Like just like being able to kind of go in the corner and do your thing. That's awesome. Like look for areas where you can like shine in your attention to detail, whether it's follow through, whether it's technical analysis, that type of thing, roles that, have precision and quality, and those are really valued. That's gonna be somewhere you shine, whether it's in work and entrepreneurship. C's also like love to learn. So like going to more education and training, that type of thing, especially if you're high on the theoretical chart when it comes to motivators, that in a C, it's like you're just gonna love just like learning. And it's gonna be a way that you can not only set yourself up for success, but also get more energy in the process.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on the Rainmaker Family Show. As always, we love hearing from you. So if this episode resonated with you, make sure to share it with a friend or post it on social media and tag Steve and I. We would love to see what you're loving about this episode. Thanks again. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. If you're not a part of our mastermind yet, I want to say I think you're missing out. Our heart here at Rainmakers is to create total abundance for you. That's why we're offering a free one-on-one family freedom design session for you, our faithful listener.
Yeah, if you want to hop on a call with our team, see if it's a good fit to build a business that creates time freedom for you, financial abundance, and helps you leave that thriving family legacy. That's what we're all about in our mastermind. You can grab a time on our team's calendar at rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind.